Yes.
Yeah.
She's going to share some of her original music with us today, including one that was a finalist in this year's Posy Awards. So we are in for a treat today. Yeah.
Hiding in the moon shadows, pressed against the wall. The world turns without her as she struggles not to fall. The freshly painted corner like all that she pretends traps her in a sticky web that never seems to end. She stares into the moonlight that keeps calling out her name, drawn into the starry beams and all that they contain. She reaches past herself, no reason left to doubt, finding courage in the truth that finally lets her out. It's gonna be a bright day, a time for revelations. I trust in you to lead the way. No need for complications. I believe in you. Like a newborn soul with barely opened eyes, a careful step onto the path, dropping her disguise. She's ready now to shed the past like smoke as she exhales, more confident with every move that love will still prevail. It's gonna be a bright day, a time for revelations. I trust in you to lead the way. No need for complications. I believe. So much better taking chances. Be alive or take delight in joining dances. Always strive to be real, safe to feel. It's gonna be a bright day, a time for revelations. I trust in you to lead the way. No need for complications. I believe. Oh, it's gonna be a bright. It's gonna be a bright day.
Lisa Bell, everybody.
Thank you. Oh,
Whew.
thank you.
And with that, we say good morning and welcome to Columbine Spiritual Center. We're centered in God. We celebrate a world of harmony, peace, and abundance for all. We invite you to jump on up with zeal and join us while we sing some incredible joy songs. 2, 1, 2, 3. What a wonderful morning, beyond compare. I feel God's loving presence featuring some great superstars of the New Thought world today. Here's one by Daniel Nahmod. Love is my decision. Love is my decision. It's up to me to give up my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision, right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to stand on that bridge. Love is my decision. No one else can make me forgive. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision, right here and now. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision, right here and now. One last little tag. Love is my decision. My decision, right here and now. Thank you so much. You may be seated. You can be seated. Please be seated. And let's prepare ourselves for prayer and meditation. This one's by Karen Drucker. When I look in your eyes, I see the beloved. See the beloved looking back at me. When I stand next to you, I can feel the beloved. Feel the beloved in you. You are in my soul. You are my inspiration. With you in my heart, I am never alone. We are
And this morning, as we move into some time of prayer and then meditation, I invite you to, if you're comfortable, join me in closing your eyes and open yourself to the beloved that you are. The beloved not only resides in you, as you, breathes you, it is you. And so we allow ourselves to just simply quiet and relax now into that beloved. And sometimes one of the hardest things to do is to recognize ourselves as the beloved. And yet it still is true. You are the expression of the light. You are God in action, manifest here, right now. And so whatever it is that comes up in you that says, oh no, gently surrender. No need to reject it. We're just surrendering our attachment to it. Allowing ourselves to rest, to pause for a moment in the fullness of who we are, in its stillness, in its quietness, ready for whatever today has to offer, whatever our life is offering us in general. We can trust that in this space. We are well equipped as the beloved. We also have the power of oneness, and so we bring to mind anyone on our personal prayer list. The church's prayer list published every Tuesday, and our prayer box in our front lobby. Gently surrounding each and every one of those people and circumstances with our love, with our intention of the highest outcome, knowing that this thing we call God or Spirit or the One is working in every situation. And as we continue to relax, continue to settle more deeply into this moment, we take some time now to rest in the silence, bringing ourselves back to our breath if our mind wanders, but simply welcoming the quiet stillness of spirit.
streams all around us, but those ways and means still confound us. Can't move without a safety net. If there's a way you can't see it yet, lost among the things as we get older, while our passions slowly start to smolder. We can't make it past the fear, but we've gotta take the time to make it clear. Meet me in the space between, where words are just formalities, where we can learn to trust the voice within. Meet me where the worlds collide, where the fragile veil is cast aside, so we can see the future coming in. In the echoes of conversation is where we find our true obligation. We were never meant to stay the same, stuck here on the surface to remain. Meet me in the space between, where words are just formalities, where we can learn to trust the voice within. Meet me where the worlds collide, where the fragile veil is cast aside, so we can see the future coming in. So meet me in the space between, where words are just formalities, where we can learn to trust the voice within. Meet me where the worlds collide, where the fragile veil is cast aside, so we can see the future coming in. Let's bring it
Lisa Bell, everyone.
Thank you.
We're continuing our work today with surrender, using the magic of surrender by Kurt Blackson. Why do we need to surrender? What is it that in us where we have to focus on letting go? It's this interesting dynamic that we're raised with, right? That we're put into a world that almost demands conformity. Certainly our Family culture demands conformity. Often the greater culture demands conformity in some way. And as a result, we form deep-seated beliefs about who we are, who we can be, what the world is, how safe the world is. I mean, any number of beliefs that then we begin to live by. Instead of the tone of the song that Lisa just sang, which, hey, let's meet in the quiet and let's see what the guidance is for this moment. Let's see what we're being called to, or let's see what our truth is. And so, surrender becomes a powerful tool for us to consciously say, okay, I let that go. And to remember too, we're really talking about two different kinds of surrender here. Kut talks about how, and especially in this chapter, about how important it is to align with our own personal truth. So we're surrendering into the truth, right? Because often when we step out in truth, we don't exactly know where it's going to go. And we're surrendering in letting go of that which has been holding us back. Kut says this: it's easier to play small and protect ourselves from the disappointments of living full out, or the disappointment of living full out, with all its risk. But if you want magic, truth is the key that will set you free. If all you did today was fully tell the truth, your life would be transformed. That in itself would be a major exercise, right? Because it's easy to get into non-truths. It reminded me when I read this, he calls the non-truths, he just comes out and says, we're lying, right? And when I read that, it reminded me of a story I read about a more traditional minister than we are here in Unity, who wanted to do a talk on the sin of lying. And so the week before, he asked his congregation, just in preparation for the talk, to read Mark 17, chapter 17 of the book of Mark. He said, it's short, won't take you long. And then the next Sunday, as he was getting ready to start his sermon, he asked for a raise of hands. How many of you had a chance to check out Mark 17? And amazingly, most of the room raised their hand, right? So, Chris, what's the deal with Mark 17, that's right, it ends at 16. Busted. And we'd be busted many times if we had a little light that went off that said, when we're not telling the pure truth. But actually in spirituality, we're more interested in the lies that we tell ourselves. That's the key. Is, how have we fallen trapped to these beliefs that really limit us? Anytime, it's okay, for example, to have a belief, but when we're so invested in it that we're living a life according to it, then we're in trouble. That's when it becomes limiting. And Kut tells a great story of this. When he was 19, he fell in love with an older woman. I think it's kind of fun that when he first saw her, see how many times this has happened in your life. When he first saw her, he couldn't even speak. She just took his breath away. This was the woman, or this was the, this was the person, right? Has that ever happened to any of you? Be wary. I would be very wary when that happens. And this woman had a lot of the qualities that he always imagined would be his perfect partner. Except one thing began to surface pretty early in the relationship, that she was extremely jealous when he did anything with another woman. He said, even if I breathed near another woman, that I would be punished for it. And this is the key, he would be punished. She would withhold contact, she would withhold intimacy from him. And so, without really realizing it, he began to adapt to her, right? Now, have any of you noticed that in your own relationships? If something really triggers your partner, you kind of dance around it, try to not bring it up, try not to do it. And some of that is out of love. Some of it is out of the fear of the punishment, right, that can happen when that happens, the fallout that can happen. And so what happened for Coot, which he didn't realize, was that he started dampening back his natural outgoingness. And he started really avoiding contact with other women. And he didn't really notice it, as I said before, until he caught himself acting out. He found himself at a strip bar, something he had never done before, something he couldn't really even imagine. And luckily for him, he sort of woke up in the middle of the experience and was able to go to her and say, this isn't working, and broke up, which of course was a bit messy. If someone is jealous. He did say, by the way, that he thought she was pretty spiritually evolved. I'll just give you a clue. Jealousy is not very spiritually evolved. That's an underlying lack of trust. And we all have our moments of jealousy, so a great opportunity to be looking for the truth. Now, is the fact that he broke up with her, are we done? Has anything progressed spiritually? Not a thing. Thank you, Deborah. Not a thing. Because you see, it took him 4.5 years to break up with her. So the issue then becomes why? And he's complaining to a friend, and the friend says, but why are you attracted? Because he was also pointing out that this has now become a pattern for him at the point that he's complaining, that he's with all these women that are jealous of him. So why are you attracted to jealous women? Or the question I would ask, why did it take 4.5 years? What's going on for you? And it was then that he began to work spiritually. It was then that he took the deep dive, or this chapter is called Leveled Up, that he gave himself the opportunity through that inquiry to come to the next level of consciousness, where he discovered that he had a fear of rejection. And his assumption was, if I am with someone that's jealous of me, then I've got them. And I don't have to worry about being rejected. And so you see, you have the opportunity then to surrender that belief once you've got it. By the way, this is active surrender. This is not some kind of passive surrender. We're doing our work through this. How many of you have found yourself in situations where, this is why I'm doing this? And you can feel the impact of the freedom. For me, I often have to coach myself that, okay, if rejection happens, I'll handle the rejection. It's going to be okay. Because it's the young part of us that's worried about this. So let's talk about complaining for a minute, shall we? Do you like to complain? Yeah. I'm trying to catch myself more at complaining, because here's the deal with complaining. When we're complaining, we're not really willing to face the truth. We don't want to know the truth. We're really trying to either ignore it or pretend that we don't know the truth, don't want to know the truth. So I had a boyfriend years ago, and by the way, So here's the deal how I met him. I'm at a party. Everyone's talking about this guy that's always late and blah, blah, blah. They weren't saying anything positive about him. And the doorbell rang, and they're all busy. You know how people can get busy in the kitchens. Would you answer the door, Scott? It's probably, I'm not going to give his name. I go to the door. I go, mercy. I am totally attracted to this guy. Like head over heels attracted. I dated him for, it must be a magic number, 4 years. And he was my dad to a T in the area of finances. Remember, my dad was miserly when I was a kid. It was so hard for him to part with any kind of money. Same thing with this guy. Oh, did I like to complain about him? Until about a year and a half into our relationship, a very wise person said to me, what does he offer you in this thing that you're complaining about? And that began to open it up for me. Yeah, what is the truth that I'm not willing to embrace here in this relationship? And what I got to see was I felt powerless. You know, I was a kid, right? And my dad didn't want to spend any money. It was the most powerless situation when you wanted new shoes because your shoes were duct taped together, or you were hungry or whatever, and you'd have to negotiate for just what seemed like the stuff that other kids just got, right? It was helpless, it was powerless. And once I got that, it was so interesting how the relationship started to blossom in a different way. You know, when he would want to go to DC but want to drive to DC, I'd say, I'm happy to go to DC, but I'm going to fly. I'll meet you there. I stopped arguing with him. You know, I didn't need to convince this guy. I didn't need to change him. I could just claim my power, my strength in the relationship and say, I also got to confront some issues with money, you know, that I thought through being raised in unity and going to all the different prosperity classes that I really understood that money was not my source. And yet, as I began to claim what I wanted to do, then I was pushed up against that too. I mean, it's so cool. It's a never-ending process, right? I mean, when you think you're done, come see me. I'll bring the harsh reality back to ground for you. It's a constant process of mining what's going on now, right? And then Coote also says then that feelings will guide you to the truth. And he's drawing on the fact that he sort of had an uncomfortable feeling about this girlfriend soon as the relationship starts, right? And she reveals her jealousy. But he wasn't willing to follow it. And for him, it was a pretty direct relationship. He could have trusted, you know, what would the message for you guys if your partner was super jealous? The message might be, time to end this relationship, right? So there was a pretty direct correlation. But I'm a little nervous about just telling you, oh, follow your feelings. I most often find that my feeling is, run like hell. Right? Because I'm in a reactive feeling. Now, here's what he says about feelings. Now, I think there's a lot of truth in this. Actually, I'm going to wait for Bonnie to bring it up. There we go. Feelings are pointing to where more freedom is available if you're willing to be honest. This I agree with. Sometimes it's painful. Totally agree with that. But the short-term pain is better than a lifetime of suffering. Yes, thank you. Do we hear an amen? Amen. God, no kidding. So the other thing that I wanted to point out, and we're going to come back to feelings, but I wanted to point out that surrender, I just can't believe the number of things. Since I've started reading this book, I feel like all I do is surrender. And it's not linear. Bonnie, if you could show us this cartoon. It's a little small, but at the top it says, other people's spiritual journey. And it's, they're moving pretty up. And then down below it says, my spiritual journey. Honestly, down below is probably more accurate, right? Because it doesn't move in a linear situation, in a linear way. Like this week, I was listening to a talk that a ministry friend of mine, and he didn't even ask me to listen to it. He just was talking on and on about what a great speaker and how much he liked listening to this guy. So I'm going to look him up. I started listening to his talk. It's a really good talk. And it isn't even necessarily the talk that my friend listened to. This guy's a good speaker. And my stomach starts tightening up. Familiar feeling for me. By the way, Coot doesn't talk about the body. I'm going to make another big pitch. Pay attention to your body. You see, our soul is our consciousness. When we're talking about leveling up, we're talking about lifting our consciousness, right? And so the body, you may not think of it this way, but the truth is, this is the truth. The body is the expression of your consciousness. It is created and manifested out of your soul. And the poor thing cannot lie about what's going on for you. It can't. And so I always I must check in with my body 1,000 times a day. Okay, what is my experience now? So I'm getting all tense. I feel like I've got a perfectly round bowling ball in my belly. It's heavy, and it's just full of anxiety. So, good opportunity to do a little inquiry, what's going on here? And immediately, I'm taken back to an image of my dad and back to something he told me, where he said very early on in my life, when I was like 2 or 3, he saw that I was not going to be the athlete that he hoped I would be. And for the first time ever, I saw that in a different way. I recognized how disappointing that must have been for him. And every kid is really sensitive, right? So I felt how hard it must have been for me to be a disappointment to my dad. And then what was interesting was realizing, because see, I haven't felt that. I grew up with this bowling ball, and all the way to really the first part of my time here at Columbine, I lived with this bowling ball. But I haven't felt it for years. And now it was back. You remember how it doesn't really necessarily progress up. Like I'm boom, all the way back, right? And as I asked myself, what's going on? I realized I got some feedback from one of you that one of my recent talks was a disappointment. And I thought, isn't that interesting? You see, I project my dad onto everybody. This is what we do. And in projecting my dad onto everybody, I can't disappoint anybody. Because as a kid, I had the bowling ball, and if the bowling ball lets go, what happens is I often feel like there's no ground underneath me. Because you don't want to be a disappointment to your dad. No, it feels like the ground is just falling out. And as I realize that it's not only that I can't disappoint, but it feels like I won't survive if I disappoint somebody, suddenly there's the truth, right? That's my truth, which I was able to go, that just isn't true. I mean, that would drive you nuts as a minister, right? I mean, the perfect job to have, multiple congregants and trying not to disappoint anyone, it's nearly impossible. So with that realization then, because I was laughing with Lisa that in the midst of that, I was trying to work on my talk. Impossible. All I got, this is the feelings, right? The feeling was, I'm deficient. I don't know what to do. It's all this stuff that comes up when suddenly you can't disappoint anybody. But how do you know how to do that, right? The feeling was, I just need to write the board and resign now. But when you get to the truth, so the feelings were guiding me, right? But they weren't the direct truth. When you get to the truth, then, I was able to go, okay, really, you don't need to worry about pleasing everyone, about not being a disappointment. I'll handle the slack of not being being a disappointment to people. And we are going to survive, even if we disappoint people. It's going to be fine. Yeah, and the cool thing was that the bowling ball goes away. It begins to dissolve. Suddenly, I had clarity around my talk. So you see, the magic of surrender is it brings us back to our nature as spiritual beings. At least it offers us the opportunity to come back to who we are as spiritual beings. And in that, we are so resourced. It's crazy. It's really crazy. You have what it takes. Everything that you need. And if you don't, you'll be guided into how to get it, how to develop yourself more. But when we're off separate, which is what happens when we get caught back in our sense of, I'm small, I need to keep myself small, here's why I'm small, I got all the evidence. We're separate. Separate from what? Just separate from our nature. It's not gone. We come back into alignment with it. We're resourced. And really, the switch can be like magic. Earlier in the week, I don't know how to do a talk. You can say, oh, that couldn't be. Oh, you should have been in my experience. Miserable. Going back through, do I have an old talk on surrender? There must be something. To all of a sudden, reading back through the chapter and having all sorts of ideas. Oh, we could do that. Oh, I could go there. So I just want to end with a few questions. Coot is a master at asking questions. And see, this is what helps us get to the truth. An open-ended question. These are part of my questions for those of you that are in groups this week. I'm just inviting you to work through these questions. But also they're in our update if you're not in a group and you don't happen to have the book. These are great questions. And we'll end with these. What lies am I telling myself? How am I trying to fool myself? What am I pretending not to know? That's my favorite question. I'm so good at this one. What am I pretending not to know? What's the payoff for staying stuck? What has the lie been costing me? What am I afraid might happen if I tell the truth? That's the killer right there, right? That's the one where we need to not only surrender, but take a deep breath. Trust. What right action can I take today? This is Unity's fifth step. It's not enough just to contemplate spirituality. We need to live it. We need to act on it. And he has one other question that I really like too. Those are his 6 questions that he calls the truth process. He says in this other question that's buried in the chapter, how are you distracting yourself from the truth? I can tell you one of mine. I love to have a glass of wine before dinner. Chill. I don't really want to think about anything more. That's probably a distraction. Good for me to look at. What things do you do that distract you from the truth? We live in an incredible universe, a universe that reflects back for us what we believe. Our job is to mine through that, to get to the truth. We know the greater truth, that each and every one of us is an expression of spirit. We are spirit. It's not like spirit resides somewhere inside. We are spirit in motion. And we have a bunch of beliefs that occlude us from that keep us from really being able to just know and live that. And so the process of surrender includes the process of mining through, using whatever we're feeling, what we're experiencing in our body, to guide us to what could be in the way here. What is the truth that I've been taking to be my truth that I can now surrender and be open to the magic? The magic that is spirit as you. And so it is.
So in order to surrender, we have to let go, right, of what we know is not our truth and move on. For a new direction, one that's gonna help me find my way. Still I'm scared I'm gonna lose protection from the comfort of my everyday. Every time you've got to move on, move on. In your heart it's got to be strong, be strong. If you tell yourself you can't let go, then the future you will never know. I meditate to contemplate perfection, never knowing what I'm searching for. I know the secret to divine connection, but I struggle with that open door. Every time you've got to move on, move on. In your heart it's got to be strong, be strong. If you tell yourself you can't let go, then the future you will never know. The more I try to change, the more I find that things are ending up just the same. Keep that faith alive, that someday I'll get out of my own way. Ba-ba-da-da. Ooh, ba-ba-da. Hey, hey, every time you've got to move on, move on. In your heart it's got to be strong, be strong. If you tell yourself you can't let go, then the future you will never know. You've got to move on, move on, move on. Just let yourself be strong. Move on, move on, move on. You gotta move on, baby. Move on in the right direction. We're all perfection, yeah. You just gotta find it.
Bell.
Thank you.
Moving on. Woo.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Lisa Bell.
Oh, it's me. Hello. Wow. So we have something really special for you today in that we have barely any announcements. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to gratefully and graciously receive your love offerings. And we have lots of ways to give. If you're in the sanctuary, of course, we're happy to receive right here and now. But if you're at home, feel free to get on our website and you can text, you can donate through PayPal. There's all sorts of ways. We even take cash with proper identification. Yeah. So let's say our love offering blessing together. God's love has always met and will always meet all my needs. I give freely, I receive abundantly, and I am grateful. Thank you to our service volunteers. So yes, we have a brand new website. There is so much information on that website, and you can do so much there, including, if you're new to us, signing up to be part of our email list. We send out an email blast or an update every Thursday afternoon, and then on Sunday mornings, we send out an e-bulletin. So we're really working at becoming paperless, and there's all sorts of stuff on there, and we're changing it all the time. So please visit us there, www.columbineunity.org. All right, if you've not checked out our youth and family program yet, it's happening in full strength down on the lower patio. But now Jeannie Oliver is ready to start with high school and middle school kids. We're going to call this our YOU program. So the teen program has a grand opening today from 2 to 4 p.m. Scarlett, you're going to be there, right? Absolutely. 2 to 4 p.m. right out here. There'll be fun field games and connecting activities. And if you've got children, you've got grandchildren, you've got... Say that again. Be there, be square. So what's really exciting is that we're combining middle school and high schoolers this year in the energy and effort toward creating a really robust youth and teen program. So thank you for helping us create that together. And then we have just one more announcement, which is we are beginning strategic planning with John Wimberly. He was the spokesperson that you heard when we had our town hall last month. He's a consultant with a lot of years of experience as a minister, and now about the past 15 years as a consultant, helping congregations like ours decide how they're moving into the future post-COVID and in this new and ever-changing landscape. So we're going to be looking for people to be part of focus groups, people to be giving feedback, and we'll be giving you lots of opportunities to check in with us and the board regularly. So thanks for your support in that effort. Is that actually it? Oh, we have prayer chaplains today available. Carolyn is standing right there. Where would you like to be today, Carolyn? Right here? Beautiful. If you've got something on your heart that you'd like to celebrate or something that you're needing guidance with, she is your person. So just pull up a chair in front of her and have an amazing prayer chaplain experience. I think that's it. Wow. I like this job. Thank you. We're going to invite everyone to stand up, please, and hold each other heart to heart, soul to soul, with a little distance between you, unless you're related. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all of God surrounds us. The love of God
enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Whew. Thank you so much. It's a magic of surrender.